Good morning, interwebs. It's actually morning this time. Yay, me! I got up in time to see the school bus go by. Now, I was still sitting on my bed looking out my window, but I could see it. And actually, kind of strangely, just like the blinky light on the top. It was so dark outside still that the blinky light was like shining through my hall window. And as it shined through, I could see like this flashing on my wall. And next thing I know, the bus comes driving by. So that was good though. I got up, I got around, got dressed and stuff. I was gonna do my makeup and stuff. I don't feel like I have to wear makeup, but I think it's kind of fun. But my eyes are kind of weird and swollen. I think they're doing harvest, and so there's grain dust and stuff in the air. And I think I'm having a bit of allergies, which happens just about every time they go and work in fields around here. So I've been up, dressed. I went through my laundry, which is on the floor over there. Steve had washed it and folded it for me because he's wonderful. But I have found that part of my effort to be a bit less haphazard is I take my laundry and I sort it by like outfit as far as top and bottom. So sometimes I go and I like lay out all my skirts and stuff, and then I put the shirts on top. And then like today I went and I laid it on my tops and I went the other way and decided which bottoms are going to go with them when I wear them. And clearly I mix it up occasionally, especially if weather dictates, or if I have like this really strong desire to wear a particular outfit on a given day. But it helps cut down on the decisions that are necessary in the getting dressed. And then I watched a YouTube video, I think, a couple of them, and I did my journaling affirmations this morning, so that was good. And then since I had been productive and done the things that I needed to get done, I worked a little on my niece's shawl. I did another repeat of the pattern. I think it's like a 7, let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8. It's an 8-row repeat. So I did another repeat of that. I figure if I just keep at it that way, kind of using it as a reward because I'm really enjoying the project, that it will keep me motivated to get some stuff done today. So now I am off to wake up my kids. One of which just woke up. So now I need to get them up and around and get everybody dressed, and then I think I'm going to make pancakes for breakfast this morning, and we will go from there. Take 2 on recapping my day. I tried to film this about 45 minutes ago. I had just gotten down from putting the kids to sleep, and I had fallen asleep in that process because they were giving me a hard time, and my youngest son, like, the only way he would go to sleep is if I went to sleep. Then he'd wait for me to just fall over that edge of sleep, and then he'd get out of bed again. And then we go round and round, and he could have gone out of bed and I wouldn't have really known, and he could have just come downstairs and gotten water or whatever, but he'd get back into bed and he'd kick me. Or he'd flip upside down and put his foot in my face, or any number of things. It was like, really? You could totally get away with this if you were just a little more stealthy. Which is good. It means he's still not smarter than me. But I came downstairs and I couldn't put together coherent sentences. Like, I filmed, I think, like a 10 or 11 minute, like, me telling you about my day, that wasn't even editable because there were just these long pauses of me having no earthly clue what was going on. And I wasn't even, like, super tired. I just couldn't do the speaking. But speaking is happening now. Whether it's good or not, I don't know. But I took a shower. I feel so much better. It was just kind of like clammy all day today, and it's pretty hot. I felt bad for the guy that was up working upstairs today. What they did today was they pumped insulation into our attic, which had 0 insulation in it. There's also these like cavities in our wall based on the way that our construction of our house is upstairs. And they were completely empty of insulation too. When the guy left at 4:30 today, he said that they put 80 bags of insulation in already. And he thought that they had enough. They brought like a box truck today to do that. And he thought they had enough insulation with them. But based on how much they'd already used and the things they have left to do tomorrow, they are going to have to get more on their way tomorrow. So, but it already is making a difference. I don't know temperature-wise, but it is quieter up there. Which is good because it was kind of windy this afternoon, like uncomfortably windy. And when I went up there, it just, you couldn't hear it the way you could before. So We should be much more weather tight this winter, which is the whole purpose of this weatherization program, is to help with that. We started our new like U.S. geography. We've done state studies basically every year. My daughter's been doing school, but most of them have focused more on the like culture of a state, or like more of like the fact stuff, and less on just like physical location, like places, major rivers, mountains, capitals, that sort of thing. But that is what we're going to do this year. History, a bunch of history. Today we talked about medieval India, which is interesting. I've been fascinated so far by our history studies this year. We're using a book called Story of the World by Susan Wise Bauer. She is the author of The Well-Trained Mind. If you are a homeschooler, you know what I'm talking about. If you are not, it's kind of irrelevant. But the book is really good. I know that there are things about it that are not perfect. I accept that. I actually think that's a good lesson, and we keep talking about it with the kids, about like how history is written by the victor. And so, you know, there's always more than one side to a story, and when you're reading a history text, there's always going to be like who got to decide what became history, and then all of the historians along the way, how they have shaped the story. And then even the people that put together a text, how they shape it with their biases. So it gives us a good way to talk about it. 'Cause that's an important, I think, thing for good, like, knowledge seekers to keep in mind, that just because you read something doesn't mean it's the whole truth. You have to interpret it, and it's already been interpreted by somebody else, too, along the way. And usually multiple somebody else's. So, just to keep those things in mind. But I have learned bunches already. Medieval history just seemed to be something that in my public school education, even in all the gifted and talented programs I was in, and even when I went to a parochial school for part of my growing up, we never touched on these things. Or not in a way that was meaningful or memorable for me, which I think is kind of sad, because I think that there's a lot we can learn from medieval history. A lot. I started a new book for our, Arrow, for our language arts studies. We're reading Hoot. We will be reading that for the next, I think, about a month. And there's a movie on Netflix now of Hoot, so we will watch that when we're all done. I also got some crocheting done today. I showed you this morning my niece's shawl, which I worked on some more throughout the day, and it is coming along nicely. I'm very, very happy with it. And told you I'd tell you when I started a new project. I started this at about 4:30 today, the actual working on it. And I got it, this is how far I was at 9:30 when I took the kids to bed. I wasn't working on it constantly, but, you know, fairly constantly. It is just a plain granny square afghan. I've actually never made a plain granny square afghan. I have made granny squares. I've used the granny square technique to make other things. I've never made a straight up afghan, even though I know that's a fairly common thing to do. As you will find, many of those fairly common things are things that I just skipped along my journey to learn to crochet, and now I'm going back and picking them up. But this is a concept I have been wanting to do for a while. But for my one nephew, he is very into karate. Like, very into it and very good. And he actually got his black belt this year. And he went to China for something with his dojo and got his black belt in China. So I had this thing in my head that I wanted to do a color progression that matched the belts for his graduation blanket, but it seemed, and I was looking for what to make him for Christmas, like this seemed the year to do something that involved the belt ranking, since he did make his black belt. So the colors actually match the progression. I had to do some research to find out what the color progression his dojo uses was, because as you may or may not know, with martial arts, different styles and even just different groups within a given style use different belt progressions. So I did 3 granny rounds of each color, because there are some rows that are going to be striped because they have, between blue and green, there is a blue and green belt. So there's going to be one of blue, one of green, and another of blue, and then I'll move on to the green. There's also a green and brown belt. So I did 3 stripes of each. So we have the white, the yellow, the orange, and then we go into purple and blue, and I'm 1 row into the blue and green belt. I just hooked on the green, and then we're going to have green belt, green and brown, brown belt, and black belt. And then I'll see what size it is and whether or not I'm going to go through the colors again. I don't know. I'm kind of trying to get it done. I'm actually the happiest with the tension on this. The hook and the yarn and my tension are all playing super nice, which is not always the case when I do granny stuff. So I'm honestly kind of trying to work through it while my tension's on point, because I'd like it to all look really even in the end. And, you know, you get some of that washes out and stuff, and you can block a little bit of it out. But it's acrylic, so blocking is kind of, it just relaxes more than blocks. But I think this will be usable for him. I think he'll at least appreciate the sentiment. I think he will appreciate the item itself, too. I'm hopeful, but, you know, you never know with teenagers. Just kind of trying to keep up on the house. Things fell a little by the wayside with our trip and coming home, and you know how life goes. But I'm trying to get back on top of it, but slowly, not jump in too much, because I have this tendency to overdo and then I do nothing. That's not really good either. So I think that is it. I will see you all tomorrow. Nighty night.